Welcome back to another weekly market and financial update. So last week was a light week with Thanksgiving, so there isn't a lot of news for us to talk about this week. Really, the main two exciting pieces, if you will, are Jerome Powell, the Fed chair. He's going to come out later this week and talk about sort of the expectations of where the Fed is at in regards to interest rates and where he will sort of indicate whether or not the Fed will maybe lower rates sooner or a little bit later. So that'll be the one big report. And then the jobs report is coming out later this week on Friday. So those are really the two main components that we're going to be looking at. But otherwise, the market is doing tremendously well. It's at all-time highs or near all-time highs. So a lot of good stuff all around. We might be hearing some news about the martial law over in South Korea, and I don't think that will have much of an effect on U.S. markets. It will have somewhat of an effect on international markets, I'm sure, as there's global uncertainty, political uncertainty over in Asian markets at this point. But in terms of the U.S. market, there's going to have little to no effect on the U.S. market. So with that in mind, it's the first week of December. I can't believe the year is almost over. It came and went in a blink of an eye. And let's talk a little bit about some housekeeping items that everyone should just be mindful of as we wrap up the remainder of the year. If you're thinking about making any final 401k, 403b, 457, any employer plan contributions, you have until December 31st to do so. And I know some people are going to say, wait, Ben, no, I have up until the tax filing deadline. And you're right, but that rule only applies to personal retirement accounts. So think traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs. Any employer-sponsored plan that you're making payroll contributions toward, those must be in by December 31st. So that'll come from payroll, and if you're above the age of 50 and you're looking to make a catch-up contribution, again, December 31st is going to be the last day that you have the ability to do so. So if this is something you're thinking about and you haven't fully maxed out for the year yet, log into your HR benefits portal online, your 401k portal, speak to your HR person, your benefits coordinator, whoever you need to get in touch with to make sure that you are, in fact, maximizing your benefits or trying to squeeze a last few extra bucks into your retirement plan before the end of the year. And what you can do if you're expecting a bonus or a larger payout for maybe a large commission at the end of the year, whatever it might be, typically most plans will allow you to allocate portions of your commissions or bonuses toward your 401k contributions. So if you're expecting a year-end bump in pay, then now is a great time to review that and make sure that your allocations are set up the way that you want them to. Again, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, you have until next year to deal with them up until the tax filing deadline. So there's a little bit more time there, but any employer-sponsored plans like 401ks and 403bs, those are the two major ones, as well as a few others you have until the end of this year. Another planning consideration to take into account is if you're considering any Roth conversions. Most folks know at this point where your income is going to be by December 31st, and Roth conversions are another type of planning strategy that has to be done by the end of the calendar year. You can't do a Roth conversion into the following year for the year prior. Roth conversions must be done in a calendar year, December 31st, 2024 for this year. So if you're thinking about a Roth conversion and you just need a little bit of help with your tax planning, we're doing lots of tax pro formas right now for our clients. So if you're on our ongoing financial advice service, or you're an existing client regarding tax planning, you're always welcome to reach out to us, and we're happy to run through this exercise with you and talk about whether or not a Roth conversion makes sense and then how much you're actually able to do so. And New York residents get a special treat. You get up to a $20,000 income exclusion on IRA distributions per person. So on the state level, there is a nice state tax benefit if you did a $20,000 Roth conversion for husband and wife. You can actually exclude that income off of your state tax return when you file. So again, if you're a New York resident, you get this extra little bonus of tax planning. Other states, not so much, but I know a lot of you are based out of New York that watch these videos, so I wanted to throw in that little fact. And really, other than that, just thinking about any other planning you might have to get done. If you have any required minimum distributions that you need to get done, those are required to be distributed by the end of this year, unless you turned RMD age this year, you get a one-time exception of doing it up until April 15th of 2025. So the RMD age this year is 73. So if you or someone you know that turns 73 this year, you can take it this year, but you must take it by April 15th of next year. And if you're above the age of 73, 74 or older at this point, you have to take your RMD by the end of this year. Inherited IRAs are a little bit different. If anyone recently received an inherited IRA or inherited account, you typically do need to take an RMD from the account. The IRS granted a waiver for 2024 only. So if you think you need to take an RMD, you still can if you want to, but you aren't required to just for this year only. Next year in 2025, you will be required to take an RMD from the inherited account, and also make sure that if you're a non-eligible beneficiary, that account is distributed within the 10-year period. So again, just a few things to think about, especially when it comes to mostly retirement accounts. That's mostly where our deadlines falls around our 401ks and IRAs. And then any other considerations you're thinking about, if there's any charities you want to give to before the end of the year, if you are planning on itemizing your deductions next year, make sure that you're maximizing any other deductions that you may have. If you have any medical expenses, or maybe you need to get some procedures done that could help toward itemizing deductions, you may want to get it in. Or on the flip side, if you're not going to itemize this year, but you might itemize next year because you have a large medical expense coming up, you may want to push your medical expense into 2025 at this point. If it's not an urgent procedure that needs to get done, maybe something not as severe or serious, then you may want to actually opt to do it in 2025 to maximize your benefits and deductions for next year from a tax planning standpoint. So there's definitely a few other considerations to think about. Again, really anything around deductions, retirement contributions, Roth conversions. Now is really crunch time to get those things in, because we're all going to start receiving our tax forms early next year, and I want everyone to be ready and prepared to maximize their tax planning for 2024, because the tax laws are due to change in 2026 unless there are some changes before then. So if anyone has any questions around their tax planning or just needs some help, or says, hey, Ben, I'm not really sure, here's my situation, are there any opportunities for me? Myself and the team here at Vision Retirement are happy to speak with you. Again, we only have a few weeks left, so if you can get in soon, then that's great. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Happy December to everyone. Next week, we'll talk a little bit about the jobs report and the commentary that Jerome Powell is supposed to come out with later this week. And hopefully we'll have a clear picture and the market will continue trending in an upward direction. So stay warm, stay safe. We'll talk to you next week.